Welcome back to an episode here on the Heart of Hustle podcast. Sorry, I almost butchered our own title of the podcast. Uh, Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's really great to meet you.
I mean, see each other again. Actually,
True.
we see each other for the second
You're
time.
you're up.
It's been a while though, Rachel. That's how long it's been that you think you meet me for the first time, huh? Just
No,
joking.
you did leave an impression,
Um,
I promise.
all right, that's what I like to hear. But let's get straight into it. You've I love that we're not going to start with success. We're starting off with a little bit of failure. I failed the BCBA exam 4 times while you were juggling marriage and 3 young kids, but those 3 failures didn't define you, you say. They actually redirected you into your leadership into autism services. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. And thanks for starting with my failure because we're going to end and this
With
interview
success,
on
yeah.
top, right? So we'll just get this out of the
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
So I did fail the BCBA exam 4 times. This was about 11 and 12 years ago. So back then, way back then, you were only able to take this exam 2 or 3 times a year. It was a much longer process than it is today. Today, you can take it every month if you choose to. And the last time I took it, I missed it by 5 points. It was a ton of work on me emotionally, physically. I had 3 children at the time. I mean, I still have 3 children, but at the time they were 2, 7, and 10, and they were it was just a lot. I was working full time, I was studying for the exam, and my marriage wasn't the greatest either. And there were times, I remember every Sunday night I was taking a class to help me, learn to help me study for the exam. And I would go in at 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday night, and the kids would be banging on the door. And it was the only time I really asked, for that time alone. And my ex-husband at the time just wasn't very supportive of it. So after that, I was working for a company called Interactive Kids, which I'm still here, and they were extremely supportive of me in that. And I found other things. At the time, this was a growing company. Back then, we probably only had maybe 30 or 40 employees. Today, we have 180, which was the number I heard on Friday.
Wow.
So it's really wonderful. But at the time, there was a lot more administrative need that was popping up. And I remember one of them was the need to help with staffing. And I just said, can I help with that? And just, week after week, month after month, I would just add more to my job that had to do with staffing. Myself and 2 of my coworkers, Diana and Ashley, we kind of started the HR department, which is kind of funny to say. How did you have a company without an HR department? But I assure you, most companies do not start with an HR department.
That is true.
And
That
we
is true.
started that. Yeah.
I mean, in the nonprofit world, especially me being in the nonprofit world, there is no HR department. Like you're everything actually. You're your marketing, your HR, your payroll. You're just playing every single hat until you can kind of take off.
You are
Um,
everything, and the owners
Failing.
of the company, were everything up until that point, and it just got too much, and we just saw it.
Yep.
But the staffing, I really was drawn to that because it was like putting a big puzzle together, and it was nonstop, and it was fun, and it was exciting, and it put me in contact with all of the consultants that we had across the company, and as well as the families, because I got to interface with them as well. So while I became kind of less clinical, more administrative, I did quickly find that was the right thing for me.
Let's take us back to this failing. I love failing in life. In the moment, it could be very
Sure.
challenging. You probably were thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this is not for me, right? The imposter syndrome is probably very loud at that time. But what do you feel it really built within you?
I am so glad that I failed that exam 4 times because I fell in love with this administrative world. I wouldn't have learned I wouldn't have become more of a person who's more self-taught because it just kind of pushed me to look into leadership, and I found there was like a whole other world
Hmm.
with that. It closed one door, but it opened like 18 more doors. And I love the families that we work with, and I love the population of the autistic individuals that we work with. But I really do love to to help our employees, help them become their best selves. Yes, at the time failing, I was devastated. I was so upset. And
I
there
can
are
imagine.
definitely times that I still look back and think, man, I should have done that. I should have just tried one more time. What if it was just that one more time? What if there were three more questions that I would have known the answer to?
Yep.
And today, when I talk to other consultants who are struggling with passing this exam, I do encourage them to keep going. Not necessarily because I have any regrets, but just that they've worked so hard, and I just see that in them. Just kind of like a don't give up mentality.
You can't give up so many times. That's just what creates success. It is failure and is never giving up. So many times people just quit too early, and you've seen those memes all the time where he's going, and just one more strike he would have got there. And you just realize, hey, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get this. It's not going to defeat me. I'm going to defeat it, even though there was some challenges. But I love that you found this space. You've been part of now Interactive Kids as it grew, as you mentioned, from startup to this just major provider. Can we talk about what is Interactive Kids? What are the programs? What are the services? How do you help your community?
Sure. Interactive Kids has been around for 20 years. Actually, this month, we're having our 20th year
Okay.
bash in December, which we're really excited about.
Happy 20th birthday.
Yes, yes. We're super thrilled. So, Interactive Kids, we're located in South Jersey. We have offices here in Cherry Hill, Marlton, Linwood, and Somers Point, New Jersey. And we are an ABA provider. So, we provide services to individuals who are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. In addition to that, we also work with individuals who receive counseling services. We have some incredible LCSWs providing counseling. We work with a lot of individuals with challenging behaviors. There is a core group of us who worked together actually at an out of district school in this area, and we did find ourselves in a lot of crisis situations. And we also still see that those children, those individuals, still need a lot of support. So we said, sure, we can do that too, and we opened a behavior stabilization program.
I love that. What was the proudest milestone that you've had, and why being part of this organization?
The proudest milestone.
I know it's been some time, but there has to be that one that just really stands out. Like, I can't believe that we did
It
this.
just happened. So two of my coworkers, Megan, who's one of the owners of the company, and Logan, we started a networking group, and it's called Sparkle, and it's our newest adventure. And
Okay.
Sparkle it's a networking group for special needs providers. I was searching for one. Being in the marketing field, I wanted to see what was out there. I've visited a few networking groups, and they're wonderful, but they're more geared towards real estate agents or attorneys or people in banking, and that's wonderful. But I found myself not really connecting with them. And what we do here at Interactive Kids is we always say, well, the owners have always said the sky's the limit. So I say the same thing: the sky's the limit, and if you don't find what you want, you create it for yourself. So we created this networking
Absolutely.
group called Sparkle. We had our very first luncheon on Friday. I was terrified that no one would show up. When you plan a birthday party for your child and you're like, I hope his friends show up. It was that feeling for weeks. And Megan, the owner of the company, said, Rachel, it doesn't matter if it's just us. So I felt that support, and that really, really carried me through. And it ended up being 16 of us. There were 4 from our company, from Interactive Kids, and there were 12 other people that came, and we had everybody introduce themselves and talk about them and their career path and things like that. And these are people who do exactly what we do. So if you want to call them competitors, that's fine. That's who we're inviting into this. That's who we want to be part of this group. And I'm sitting there, and it was like the 4th person who started speaking, and I felt so excited and proud, more excited than any time in a really long time about something that has to do with work, because people were talking about the vibe. They're like, this is a really cool vibe in here. So to me, that meant that they felt welcome, which is what I wanted. They felt
Yeah.
that they were going to be able to be themselves, that they could feel the integrity in the room to be a little vulnerable. And Efrain, I'm not saying it needs to be like group counseling. That's not what I'm saying about this group. But I really do want to create this space for people to feel like they can lean on each other and say, hey, I'm dealing with this insurance issue. Has anyone had this and had this issue? And what have you guys done to support it, to work through it? Even if they're somebody who, again, is considered our competitor. And I just was overwhelmed with happiness and joy and satisfaction. So I would actually say that my biggest milestone just came in the last week with that group.
This is really good that you say this and that you told me how you felt, because I think from a leader perspective, meeting you now for the second time, that it's you. It's a you thing, right? It's the way that you carry yourself. There's not a mask on that when someone walks into a room and see how authentic you are, it allows someone to automatically just drop their guards.
I love
Like even today, it's been a while since we've last spoke, but even today, the way you just smiled and just like, hey, it's that. And as leaders, we forget that is being authentically us that wins every single time. So in your case, it's always going to win, even though we are our worst critics. We think all these negative things. The imposter syndrome is yelling at us. Do you agree with this? What I'm saying?
I was just feeling it 5 minutes before we started recording. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm in the hot seat. But I do, and thank you for saying all of that. That was really kind of you. I love people. I love meeting new people. There was something I saw, I don't know, it was like a clip on Facebook or something about, there's like a library in another country where you can go and you can meet other people and they will tell you their life story. And I was like, that's what I want to go there.
I love it.
I walk into places like Wawa and I feel I'm very like I'm energized by other people. So I walk into a Wawa and I'm like, hi everybody, and I'm just like saying hi to everyone, and of course sometimes they get crazy looks, but I just feed off of each other.
Are you both? Do you do both sides though? Like I am that. I am the outgoing person that says hello to everybody, but there's times where I'm very like I'm just
I
exhausted.
shut down every day. Every day, at the end of the day, I shut down, and I'm quiet, and I'm not like necessarily like full of thoughts or things like that. I just need to kind of shut it down. I guess I think of it as my battery ran out, and my social just like my battery kind of ran out.
Yeah, yeah. That's me. It's bad because my wife was like, I want you to talk to me the same way you talk to everybody else and motivate me the same way you talk to everybody else out there. By the time I get home, I've done spoken to so many different people,
Sure.
and had to usually kind of like uplift people, right? And it's that whole thing of pouring from an empty glass. I've done gave all of me out today. No one poured back into me. So leads me to my next question. You talked about going to Arizona on a hiking trip.
Yes.
Is that to refuel? Is that to refill your cup? Is that what it is? You talked a little bit about hiking and meditation. Do you do those things to fill your cup?
I should do it more, which is why my husband and I said, we just have to make this trip happen. It was literally planned in one day over the summer. I can picture him coming
Love it.
down the stairs and saying, "Hey, Rach, what if we go to Arizona? Here in New Jersey, a lot of the schools are closed next week. It's called NJEA." He's like, what if we go, away that week in Arizona? I found this Airbnb, and I'm like, just hit yes, just do yes, just accept it. And he did. And it was so incredible that he just did that literally in 1 minute. And we are,
I'll be in the area. You say you're in Jersey? Mm-hmm. I'll be in the area. I'm actually going up to New York tomorrow to the Tribeca, Soho area.
okay, Tribeca, Soho, sure.
TikTok. I've done a lot of TikTok. I don't know if you know that, but I'm big on TikTok. I have like 67,000 followers.
Woohoo.
I found my niche in wrestling, and I've kind of built that community up. So it's funny because you talk about community. I used to have to go live, Rachel, with only one person, sometimes no one watching,
Oh.
and I had to keep that up. I'm 2 years in, every Monday, every Friday, but just talking about showing up and no one's there, and you just know that it's okay. You got to keep going. You got to keep showing up. Like that's going back to success, showing up when no one's even watching. So anyway, the TikTok reached out to me. They have a summit coming up in New York tomorrow, and they invited me. So I'm
Very
like, how cool is
cool.
that? See what happens? You just show up and don't give up, Rachel.
You can't. Like, well, what else are you going to do? And, it starts with one follower, right? And now you're at 67,000. It doesn't just go to 67,000. Like, it starts with 1, 2, 3, and, it can only go up from there.
Yeah. truly mind blowing. But yeah, it's to everything that we've kind of mentioned is that mindset of never giving up. It is that time where you have to just shut down. It is okay to shut down. It is okay to take that break because if not, you're not giving the way that you should, right? You don't want to give ever less than who you are. So in order to just refuel your body, find something. A lot of the things I like to do is planting. We mentioned hiking, but I love plants. So when I'm just in there, I'm losing myself into the soil and just, you know, I love that. Yesterday, you talked about cleaning. My family and went to SeaWorld yesterday, and they said, "Do you want to come?" I said, "No, I'm going to clean." And even that was just almost therapeutic, right? You start to smell the good scents, and your wife comes home, and she's like, "Babe, it looks really good in
Yep.
here." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what we need." When I feel in my mind, Rachel, that things are just seem chaotic, I automatically go to my desk and start to just organize my desk. Because how is it that you want to be organized if your area is not organized? Your room, your office space, all that matters so much when it comes to the mental, and especially the line of the work that you do. It has to be because you're seeing so many different things. And the autism services are really bursting with demand at this point. How do you plan for growth without losing that personalization families that really depend on?
I would say it's one day at a time. You don't grow too quickly. The owners of the company, Melissa and Megan, have really stressed that personalization. They talk to families almost every single day. They're boots on the ground. They run programs. They work on the billing. They're still doing it very much so, and they meet with staff individually. So everything really, still is individualized. It's just kind of part of the culture here. And 20
Yeah.
years in, that's just the way it is. There's not much resistance to that, I would say.
Let's talk about culture. I think it's so important in companies. The culture in a company allows people to stay or leave. How important is that to you?
Culture is really everything, and we did learn that as a company. In particular, we have the departments in Linwood and Summers Point. They're run by two women, Christy and Erin, and they have really worked so hard to develop their culture down there, and they just continue to make it a priority. And it's like every decision they make, they're asking themselves and they're asking us, well, is how will this impact my culture positively or negatively? Because if it's going to impact it
Yeah.
negatively, I need to, think about another way or really decide if that is the way that I need to go.
I love that. And one of the things that you mentioned was empathy. We talked about empathy last time, and you said empathy sounds soft, but you treat it more as a strategic avenue. How do you define empathy in leadership, and how is it change decisions at Interactive Kids when you talk about
Sure.
just building, culture and all that?
So I think that some people interpret empathy as being soft. I certainly do not. Empathy is the key to life. I truly believe being empathic will help you in every single situation that you face from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. This started for me when I was a little girl. I can remember being in the car with my mom and a car whizzing by us, speeding down the highway. And I lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and we took a lot of trips to see my grandmother who was in South Jersey. And so we were in the car a lot. And I would say, what are they doing? That's not safe, or get kind of like angry about them, speeding past us. And my mom would say, well, maybe their child is in the hospital, or maybe there's an emergency that they need to get to. And so she planted the seeds very, very early about, looking at things from another perspective, putting on
Yeah.
somebody else's shoes. And if you can do that in as many situations as possible, you will be less stressed and you will be able to come up with the solution to the issue. And you'll not judge people for that. I think that, it's great to analyze and learn about other people and kind of try to figure out the why. I mean, I did study behavior analysis. I am about the why of the behavior. But when you add that tone to it, that attitude, that judgment, it just can really drag you down and nothing positive can come out of it.
I love you said that. I have that fight all the time because I do see things like that. I'm always trying to find the good, especially when you talk about the car. I'm in the car with my wife, and she'll freak the hell out. It would just give her the most. It'll give her the most anxiety, especially if she's driving. Um, and I would say exactly that. Like, you don't know why that person is rushing. Could be they're late to work, whatever the case may be. You talked about, racing to get to the hospital. I think about when she gave birth, right? We just need to get to the hospital.
Right.
Like, there's so many things that could ideally happen to somebody's life. You got a call, a devastating call that that's just, you got to get there. And she always says, You're just always too kind." I'm the person that likes to help people. If something's going on, altercation at a Walmart or a Publix, and I get involved, she's like, "Can you stop that? Like, you don't know what's going to happen." It's just us, right? And I think it is the seeds that were planted in us to allow us to see very
Yeah.
differently. And it allows me to live more peaceful because why would I rile myself up on something I can't control? I can control me.
That's right.
I can control my vehicle. So, hey, I'm going to back away from this guy, let this guy go as fast as he can ahead of us. We'll just stay here. So definitely, I love the way that you're thinking. And that also goes back to your leadership skills, having that. And you talked about building leaders as well on your good leadership to see their potential sometimes before they do, which is huge. I think that happened to me. I was a 19-year-old general manager for Subway. And I thank God that someone seen my leadership skills before I seen it. I didn't know that I was going to be a general manager for a sub shop,
Right.
And I did that for 8 years. But someone seen something in me, and now you're doing that same thing. What's that one tool or maybe conversation you use to kind of activate that for others?
I one tool. How can I name a couple? Because it sort of starts
Sure,
with
sure, yeah.
it's.
Name
It's.
a couple.
I feel like it's finding something that they're doing and recognizing it, even if it seems small or even if it seems like
Yeah.
kind of insignificant. When you notice something that somebody did and they went out of their way, say, I noticed
Mhm.
that you did that and that was really cool. Or after after like you observe them, let's say giving feedback, say that must have been really hard, you did a wonderful job. Just like words of encouragement and kind of opening up that relationship. I think that's very important. I'm built on relationships. The company we operate, we're very relationship built. So that can be extremely helpful. But getting to know people, saying, what are your hopes, dreams, goals, aspirations? But it's also remembering that not everybody is, where they are. Let me backtrack. You have to meet people where they are within reason, because some people are very, very content, just being, who they are. And if you're giving them other ideas and suggestions and they're really resistant to it, maybe it's not because they're lazy or because whatever, you're that, oh, that what that judgmental side of your brain might be thinking. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't want to excel, they don't want to move up. My son Kevin Jr. he's about to turn 21 this weekend, but he is brilliant. He's that kid that doesn't have to study. He never had to study. He took his SATs, didn't sleep the night before, walked in without a calculator and got like a 1370. Just doing it,
Kudos to him.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So me was like, oh, so you're going to become a surgeon? Like that's just like where, what I thought. Well, what else do you do with that kind of brain? You go all the way and you become a surgeon, right? Well, guess
Yeah.
what? That is not what he sees for his future. He is not. I don't even know if he's going to go beyond his bachelor's. So, which is fine for him, but that's not exactly easy, for me to kind of meet him where he is. But it's not just for him; it's for everybody. Like I just see, that sky's the limit, thinking that we have here. I see that for everybody.
I love how similar we are because it bothers me when I see potential in someone and they don't see it in
Yeah.
themselves. And I tell you what happened to me, and I had to learn this, I would say the hard way. So I knew this guy in real estate, a huge guy for what he does, really top seller year after year after year. And he let me use his box truck all the time. So, great. And then I had a partner at the time, which was my brother-in-law, and I seen so much good in my brother-in-law. Sometimes he just wasn't doing the things he should have been doing. So I remember it got to the point where we just stopped working with each other. It blew up. And I went back to this real estate guy and I tell him the situation and how mad I was. And he says, "I got a question for you." And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Did he ask for your help?" And I'm like, "No, he didn't ask me. And he's like, okay, well, you're the dummy because you're the one that continued to help him even after he didn't ask. And I'm like, I guess you're right. And it
He's
is
got
true.
a
You
point.
can't get mad when you're trying to help somebody and they don't want to be
Hmm.
helped. I miss it. Where do you put developing people on your list of things that you love to do? I actually love to do it. Sometimes I felt like I was actually babysitting adults, but there was times where I really love to see how I was able to develop somebody to be their own general manager. And even now, 10 years later, have this conversation on, hey man, thank you so much for seeing something in me. Where do you rank that on the things that you love to do at your organization?
Definitely at the top. I do again love people. I'm drawn to them. I want to know about them. So I'm kind of naturally like sort of able to talk to them about what their aspirations are and how can they get it. And when they pose some barriers to that, saying, well, what about this? What about this? And just trying to do that in a respectful way. They're because maybe they didn't have anyone to say that to them. Maybe no one has ever said that or recognized that in them, and they kind of walk away feeling, oh, maybe I can do something, a little bit different.
Yeah. Let's talk about the family that you guys serve. You say families with autism often feel boxed in. What did you see in your region that compelled you to actually build community hubs instead of just clinical programs?
So, New Jersey has a very high rate of autism, and we recognize that and we honor that. So, we need to work really hard to make sure that everybody has access to the services that they need. There are a lot of other ABA agencies, popping up in the area, and again,
Yeah.
we are not a very competitive company because really if we're all here to serve the client, then the more the merrier. As long as other providers are doing the right thing and doing right by the families, we welcome them. We even want to work
Yeah.
alongside of them, with our networking group that we started. So, but it's really looking at the families as a whole, and it's not just the client, and it's the parents, it's the siblings, and we try very very hard to work with them, and again pulling on that empathy to see it from their perspective. When we're working with families who, let's say, they have an idea for a goal, which could be having game night, Friday night game night. That's what they want for their family. But we're saying, but maybe us from like a clinical perspective is like, oh, you know what? I really think you should work on more communication, or putting, making, teaching them how to say sentences, full sentences, instead of just like a few words. But it's seeing the families where they are. And that game night is super important to them. And it's going to lead to so many more positive things than maybe if we just taught them how to say, increase their communication, or from communicating their wants and needs to like full sentences.
If the Hard and Hustle podcast has ever sparked any idea or made you think differently, do us a favor. Make sure you guys share this, post it on LinkedIn, or even text that nonprofit friend that you just have. Whatever works, this is what keeps the conversation going and allows us to just grow this community together. Seriously, we appreciate you. Do you think it also helps because some siblings usually feel like the invisible one? Do you think it also helps having those moments where we can integrate those children that may don't need that additional assistance? I think that's what happens a lot of times, that siblings kind of get feeling left out. They will say the black sheep. They would say all these different things that I've heard before. Where do you feel that comes in, and what does that conversation should look like, and why does it matter for the family
I'm
system?
so glad that you asked that, because oftentimes siblings are overlooked or pushed to the side. And really, siblings are the ones that are going to be there for them. So, how's that going to impact the family? They are the family once the parents unfortunately pass, because they're going to be the
Yeah.
ones who are there, having to make decisions for them, or even having them in their care. So they are extremely extremely important. And I've talked with many siblings about, some want to be in the field, some are on their way to get their BCBA, and some are doing whatever the exact opposite of this career is. But as a whole, we definitely need to pay more attention to the siblings.
And if you can advise any community to build one first practice for autism families, what would that be?
If I could advise any family to,
to build one first practice for autism families?
um, it, well, being another ABA provider would be wonderful, but I would say having more support groups, kind of like drop-in support groups for even parents and for siblings, I think would be really, really impactful. And again, just parenting in general can be so isolating. As much as we are connected on social media, we're still, very much in these little, silos. So if we open our doors, or places open their doors and have a place where parents or siblings can just learn from each other and be in the same room together, would be super helpful. We have a group of parents in out of the Linwood office, and their children are homeschooled, and they also receive services at Interactive Kids, and they have decided to create their own parent group, and we're helping support them, but this is them all on their own, and we couldn't
Yeah.
be more happy with that.
That's cool. I actually met a leader a couple of weeks ago that she did that. She realized that even though she was already in the space, she's like, we need to build the community aspect of it. So she, once a month, she has like what's called wine night for moms. And she has all her, employees take care of the kids while the moms just kind of have a little cup of wine and have these conversations on, because sometimes you do feel left a lot, alone and left out. My sister, she actually has two kids with autism, and they're like 9 months apart, believe it or not. It's very hard
How
for
old are
her,
they?
and you can 7 and
Okay,
8.
tough. That's tough
Yeah.
ages. That elementary age can be
And
really tough.
not talking,
Hmm.
so that was they just started walking, if anything. So it was a lot. And even as a family, while we can say that we understand and we want to be there for you, it is still tough from when you as a mom having to deal with this and you feel that no one understands, no one's going to get this, because we didn't see that in our families. So when she told me she'd build this community, I'm like, wow, how cool is that? Because so many people get left out and feel like they're doing this alone. And it's not. There's so many resources, which is why I love to have these conversations. So many organizations that are out there that I want to help these moms, these fathers that feel that they're in it alone, because it truly not real. There's so many kids that are dealing with this, so many parents that are dealing with this now. Is that what you're referring to when we talk about putting families together to just kind of educate themselves and feel at ease that they're not doing this alone?
Absolutely. And it also, so your sister has two kids, ages 7 and 8. Well, things change, things are different. So as they get older, they're also going to move into what we in the field call as the cliff. So once a child turns 21, services just completely fall off. And so so your support systems are going to need to change. So it's really even more important to learn how to lean on other parents and, learn from them, learn from their mistakes, and learn from their successes.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation, and I try to do the best I can. Again, I may not have understand it fully, but understanding that when I call her, you can just see, you can just
You
feel it.
just need
You know what I mean?
to be there for her and to, to just you're doing a great job and just try to be there for her. A lot of times people say, well, I don't want to, bring it up because I don't want to remind them. Well, guess what? They're already thinking about it. I mean, it's on their
Yeah.
minds, 24/7. Like, am I doing the right thing for them? Should I be doing something different? There's a lot of parents also, in with, children in public school system, and they're not sure, if they're getting all of the services that they need. So it's just really about encouraging them to ask the questions and to find
Yeah.
out, to kind of put yourself out there, which is very, very scary to ask the question. If you're a parent and you're like, okay, things are going okay, I don't want to rock the boat, I can definitely understand why you wouldn't want to rock the boat. But asking questions shouldn't mean you rock the boat. It just means that you're trying to learn about other options that are there for your child.
Because if you don't ask, you'll never know.
That's right.
You know? Burnout, wait lists, understaffing. What's one change you believe the industry must make in the next 12 to 24 months?
I believe we should educate our high school students on the field of ABA and working with this community. That's really where I think that we should go, and we should spend our time and resources. Right now, there are 77,000 ish BCBAs, which, do the math, is not enough for the number of individuals who require services from a BCBA. We need to make some changes. We need to get out there. We need to
Yeah.
teach our youth about this field that they could um, enjoy and thrive from a high school degree. They can get their RBT
Hmm.
certification as a bachelor's level. You could get your BCABA, and then as a master's level, you can get your BCBA. I do think that we need to be educating our high school youth more.
Very interesting that we don't do that enough because at least when I went to school, which is, aging myself here, 20 years ago, I was graduated. And I remember best buddies, and of course you knew as a young kid that there was something different about them, but we never got educated, right? We just remember best buddies. We remember that they had their own little space. We used to see them, understand. I could still tell you what the logo looks like, but we never understood. And I think it's like, how were we not being educated, but we were seeing them every single day,
And that happens
you
in
know?
pockets. So I did not grow up with best buddies. I mean, I know, other people have, and it's not because I'm even older than you. It's because of, I went to I mean, ironically, I went to Catholic school. So that was not something, ironically, that,
Yeah.
we were, exposed to. So what can we do? I think as parents or aunts and uncles or anybody who has any kind of interaction with a neurotypical child can teach them about being a nice person and about being a good person and about including others in what they're doing. And you don't have to force it down their throat, and say, you better sit with that kid at lunch who's sitting alone. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be uh, sprinkled throughout the car rides here and there. Like, hey,
Hmm.
anyone you notice at your school who kind of ever sits alone at lunch? Well, yeah, there's this one kid, Johnny. Oh, why do you think he sits alone? And just like, even with even with a 5-year-old, you can have these conversations.
Yeah.
And that really
Yeah.
will make a difference because I also think that we need to educate, everybody about being more inclusive
Hmm.
because the world of autistic individuals bend a lot to fit into our norms, and I think we need to do more bending.
My 4-year-old daughter, so my sister has the two autistic kids, but she also has a 16-year-old. 16-year-old been very helpful, throughout the journey for her. But I remember my daughter asking me, Dad, why is she on the floor like that? Because this girl's older than her, bigger than her. And my niece overheard that. And her answer, which was so good, because in that moment I thought to myself, how do I answer
Right?
this
Yeah.
question? And my niece says, we're all different. And we just got to love each other for who we are. We're all going to look different and be different and walk different and speak different. This is a 16-year-old girl that said this. I'm a 35-year-old man, and I had to really think about how do I answer this because I was never put in that predicament. This is a 16-year-old girl. So when we tell that we can't educate them, we're educating now a 4-year-old that to this day remembers that she tells me all the time, yeah, my cousin is very different. Like she's going to learn how to speak and just very positive on what that actually looks like. So yes, we could definitely start early, not just at the high school levels, but even talking to our young kids because they get it. They're very smart, very understanding individuals. The conversation just needs to be had more. I don't think that we have this conversation enough, which is, Rachel, why I thank you so much for just being yourself authentically today and have this conversation because I think a lot of people can definitely take away from it. As we wrap it up, though, Rachel, because we got to go. You got things to do, Rachel. Um, what is your socials? Where can people find you, the organization, and know more about what you guys are doing?
We're on LinkedIn, Interactive Kids, Facebook, and Instagram, and then we have a website, www.interactivekids.com.
All right, I'll leave it as a blind question because I've got to,
Oh my
keep
gosh,
you on
I
your
can't
toes.
believe the blind question. Whoa.
You speak openly about failing multiple times. We're going to kind of go back to
Okay.
that. What's one belief you held about leadership or yourself that you completely reversed, though? And how has that reversal changed how you lead now? So, we're going to talk about that failure, but how it really leads you to be back up top.
All right. What is the actual question?
So, since we talked about how failing multiple
Right.
times, what's that one belief in leadership or yourself that completely reversed? As you got into this space, you realize, wait, I thought this, but it actually wasn't
Okay.
that. How has that reversal changed how you lead as
I
well?
thought that as to be a leader, you really had to kind of keep things separate from who you work with. Like your boundaries really had to be like super duper high. That's what
Hmm.
I thought, envisioned. Like the boss did. Like the boss has their own kind of thing. Like they don't really interact with other people. That changed probably. No, I would say it changed a lot at my other job working in this school. But you can you can do both. You can be a strong leader and set those boundaries and have those hard discussions with somebody, and you can also talk about what's going on with their families. Get invited to their kids' birthday parties, go to happy hour with them. You absolutely can do both, but you have to respect both. You have to respect the relationship that you have and work towards it, the one that you have at work and then the one that you have, outside of work, and cultivate both and just keep both in check.
I want you to know that it sounds very easy when you say it, but let's be honest, we've found leaders that are in spaces that are not that, right? And it goes back to just authentically yourself. I used to, Rachel, I used to hire my friends when I used to be at Subway. I would hire my friends, I would write them up, and I lived with those friends, and I would go back home like nothing ever happened. And they would be mad, and I'm like, hey, you decided to act up at work. I had to do what I had to do as a
That's right.
boss. But hey, you want to go have this drink tonight? Like, it's simple as that. You had to respect. There's a place to
That's right.
play and have fun, and there's a place to be serious and have
That's
business.
right.
I understood the both of them. If you didn't understand the both of them, that is definitely on you. But this is where we're
Right?
at. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just some leaders don't have that. Some leaders think because I'm here, I don't talk to people. I don't talk to the janitor the same way that I'll talk to my COO, and it's actually it sucks because you'll lose people in that way. So, Rachel, we thank you so much. We can do this definitely again and again and again. I know every single time it would be just as amazing as we were today. If you guys want to make sure that you guys continue to follow what Rachel is doing and the growth and the scaling that's happening in the Jersey area. Make sure you guys connect with them on social or go directly to the website. We thank you so much for the authentic conversation and being an amazing leader, Rachel, and being into this space the way that you have, even when things didn't look like you would be here, right? Like that's what God does, and thank God that you didn't give up. My name's Efrain. This is Rachel. We'll catch you on the next one. Laters.